Let's try that again. Welcome to the stream. I am go by the persona Ikior. I also go by Chef Dishwash, which many of you know by little. So just wrapping up on some of the regions. I think I got about 3 boards left to collect. Ooh, we're gonna see a champion. Always nice to get one of these unlocked. Let's see what that is. Samira, new champion too. Nice. All new cards. I'm gonna just take a look at all of these. My tip for people to play this game for free is just play consistently and get your weekly unlocks and your champion pathways. And my advice is that any cards, none of these cards are duplicated. If they're duplicated, they get turned into essence. So any card that's not duplicated after a while, I always make sure to just give it a read. That way I can be aware of just what exists. Okay, that's all we had to do there. So, let me show you the biggest changes I made to the deck. So, this was... this wasn't the deck that we were using. Bandle for Life we used occasionally. It'd actually be really good to show you guys all 3 of these decks. So, we'll go into a little bit of deck building today. So what I was using a whole lot was this Bandle Tree 2. This is what I did to do most of my climbing, all the way from bronze all the way up to platinum. Now, I also want to say the reason why this happened so quickly for me instead of over a whole season is because I've already made it up to platinum ranks before. I was in bronze, I was in silver, and I was getting placed against platinum players. Probably platinum players that weren't doing pretty good, but I was still facing up against other platinum players in Bronze League. And I was winning. And that is why I got placed, is because it doesn't matter. Like, a lot of people like to throw around the term Smurfs, that they're Smurfs. Well, the thing is that if you are on a higher level than you're supposed to be, it shouldn't matter the skill level of the people that you're playing against. But I really wanted to go kind of the opening of this deck is the biggest difference. So here we still had a lot of hidden pathways, straight up a whole Yordle contraption. I'm not sure, and when I saw this is one of the first changes I made that I'll show later. I actually turned this into a Bandle Tellstones. So and what that does, I want to turn off the other regions here. So that card includes, it can turn in, so it becomes a 5-cost card. I think I really was just sure that this was the only one that I wanted to use. And I'm pretty sure I just wanted to make it a 4-cost instead of a 5 because my costs are already pretty high. I could potentially be spending a lot of points on cards every turn. So this has a lot of these. This is what we're looking. The biggest changes happen at the high cost cards and the low cost cards. So here you can see that I still have like 2 minions, a kelp, all that. And then I'll show you this Bandle for Life. This is still as I was climbing, so this was just something you can see. I already had the Bandle Tellstones in there, and I have a bit stronger start in this. I also have the Pokey Sticks. And you can see that I was trying something a little different because you can see the Yordle Smith is in here. as well as the Yordle Explorers. So I was trying to just make the Bandles I have out on the field get more powerful, and kind of relying more on multi-region. I had the Event Horizon and a Transposition, so I had this had a totally different feel, but it still ran into a lot of the same problems, a lot of the same bottlenecks. So then we come to, but I was having I noticed in this deck that I was having really strong Bandle Tree wins. But there were some, but my early game was suffering in a new way, and how it was suffering is that you can see in this deck specifically, the one that I was using to climb, it only has one group shot, and then everything else was relying on the buster shot. And you can see I only had 2 buster shots, so I only had 3 cards that dealt damage, and that really started to get in the way. So now we have the Bandle 5 over, and I'll show you what I did here. Okay, so the Bandle Telstones, I ended up leaving in the group shot, and then I also tried to strengthen my Bandle tree win by adding in, I was having a weak start necessarily on having the things on the field that weren't elusive. Just I needed a little bit more as something to be able to throw away if I needed to, besides the Otterpusses. And also, I changed up the number of scrap heaps I had. I also removed a minion, and I added a pokey stick, and I added a Scrappy's only one, and that's the thing with this card here. This is another card I added because I had a full board all the time, and this can help me also potentially win the game even quicker if I draw it, because right now my average is that I'm able to get a Bandle Tree win in 10 turns. So that in this game, 10 is the maximum amount of points that you can have to spend on cards per turn, and that's considered enlightened. And then you can have up to 3 mana, which are renewables. Any excess points get turned into mana, for people that don't know that mechanic. I also added this card here, the Keeper's Verdict. This really helps, especially in internals. This helps because there's lots of situations where you could run into a deck that you could get 3 Anivias on the field, because which is really dangerous. You don't want to do that, and so you can't play Anivias, but you can summon champions. So if you play a champion and you try to play another champion, it turns into the champion's spell card. The champion's spell card, as seen like right here. We'll focus on Tristana's, because Tristana's is important, because what hers is the Buster Shot here, which turns into a 2 cost when it has a Tristana. Keeper's Verdict is really powerful because it will place the card back on top of the opponent's deck, removing it from play, so they'll have to summon it again. They won't be able to play it, so it just helps keep people from doubling up their champions. I kept in the mini morph because that's a great. I don't have any stress defenses. It's just going to be the mini morph. And silence it. Really powerful card. I could potentially just put in a stress defense, because that would make something a 1/6. However, the mini morph is nice. The mini morph, like, The only downside to the mini morph is its cost. A 6 cost card is pretty expensive. Something else really strong that I added is that I did add back in the double tap, because the double tap is something, if I'm working with multi-regions, this double tap is really good. And I didn't even realize it synergized so well. Long story short, if I can pull it off with this Rumble, I can get my Rumble to level up the turn I play him, because I can get my Rumble to strike twice, that's 10 damage, and then when he auto attacks, that'll be 15, which is enough to level him up. So it is almost worth having 2 double taps instead of 2 electric collections. However, if I'm able to get a full I do like having 2 of these, because it is not the worst thing if I have 2 of those in my hand. And that is the biggest deal. It's just when I have my cards, is how many, when you're like, because I made very conscious choices, I am going to have 3 Bandle trees in my hand. I am going to fine having this, the Bandle tree, that's the only card actually where it's just like a little bit of like, I really don't need 2 of those, but I have to have this card show up. I have to have as many of it in, because this is what the deck is built around. It's built around the Bandle tree winning in 10 turns. That was a bunch of stuff. And then the other problem that I was running into is I was really starting to be able to run into chances to overdraw. So adding in the Spirit Portal was a really great card, because it grants all allies 1/1. That's mint. And yeah, I think that's enough explaining, and we need to actually just get into some playing. So we are going to go ahead, Bandle 5 over, and yeah, let's do it.